we're bringing to you 3 stories of 3 powerful women from Bengaluru.
We have an event management company, as you know, and pretty uneventful unless there is a big event happening. But I have a pretty normal. It looks kind of like a corporate day.
So, okay, a song that you're currently jamming to right now. What's the biggest hit on your playlist?
Biggest hit. I can never have an answer for that. My music changes like this. I have so many artists, but right now,
One thing that you're probably just humming to when you're in the car, just at the gym, whatever.
it's a new song by that it's like, I think it's a Spanish song. I can't remember the name, but I think it's by Bad Bunny or something like that.
Okay. Don't know of that. Okay, what's the one thing that you can't leave the house without?
Lip balm.
March is the month where we celebrate women, their stories and their journey. This year, Salar is doing just that. We're bringing to you 3 stories of 3 powerful women from Bengaluru. Kickstarting this series is Aviva Bidappa. She works at a fashion event management company and also runs her swimsuit brand. Thank you, Aviva, for doing this with us.
Thank you for having me.
So, as we know, you juggle between many roles throughout the day. So I want you to tell us and take us through a little bit of how you start your day like. What's the entire schedule? What's your calendar looking like right now?
Okay, so, well, I wake up pretty early. I fall asleep very, very early. So I wake up pretty early, kind of do a little bit of exercise. I don't spend much time in the gym and stuff like that. So I just kind of do a 20-minute workout, something on YouTube, something easy. And then I eat my breakfast and then I go to work. I'm at work pretty much till about 4 or 5. Okay. We have an event management company, as you know, and pretty uneventful unless there is a big event happening. But I have a pretty normal. It looks kind of like a corporate day.
Right. So growing up, did you know that this is what you wanted to get into? I mean, everyone does know that your family does have a business into events/fashion, right? So were you inclined towards it, or you just had to because there was no other choice?
If you had seen me when I was younger, I was a tomboy. I couldn't, for the life of me, understand what my dad did. I didn't know for a very long time. But I used to see him around these stunning, tall women, and, it was very confusing. I was an athlete. I used to ride horses, so I was very, frumpy and muscular and, nothing elegant about me. So I never, ever gravitated towards it. I think the first time I ever took interest was 17, 18.
Okay.
When I realized that it was a great business and fun and inspiring, and I got to meet a lot of creative people because I am more creative as an individual. So when I did figure it out, that's kind of when I started leaning into it. But when I was a kid, I thought I was just going to ride horses for the rest of my life.
So if you would, then we've been in a question, would you have picked it up as, something you'd want to do professionally as well?
Fashion?
No, horse riding.
It's very rare that someone has that level of talent to maybe take it international. Mm-hmm. And I definitely have known riders in the past who have, but I don't think I would have gone that extra mile. I probably would have stopped at some point and come back into the family business because I've always known that my father's legacy is important, and I'm very, very proud of it. So I would have definitely come back into it.
Right. So growing up, you've had, your family who you've looked up to, whether it's your parents, and your other inspiration would have also come from the, the education with the school that you studied at and things like that. So if I were to ask you, who has been your biggest inspiration and who's your most important woman role model, would it be?
My mother. I don't even have to think about it. Growing up, never really realized how incredibly lucky I was to have a woman like that in my corner and teaching me. And you can ask any one of my friends or anybody who knows me and my family personally. She is unbelievably driven and smart and motivated and has taught me every single thing I know. And having such a strong woman kind of raise you, puts you in this amazing and privileged setup, you know, it really did. And I owe everything to her. She was with me while I was riding. She was with me throughout everything really I did, and just taught me how to be a good human being.
So if there were three things that, she probably has told you, like 3 lines that you remember and that has helped you out throughout your journey, most importantly, I think through your lows, right? What would that be?
So, I mean, countless things she's taught me. I think when I've been really low, just her presence is enough for me to kind of know that everything's going to be okay. And I think she's not said things, she's done things.
Right.
She did things to make me extremely strong. So who I am today is, if I am experiencing a low or a down, she's taught me over the span of 30 years to pick myself back up and to really motivate myself and to kind of respect myself enough to know that this cannot be it.
Right.
To be motivated and to be driven is something she's worked on for many, many, many years. So it's become really engraved in me.
Right. So, you've come into the fashion zone at a very young age, but there are also other people who are ambitious enough to get into it. So we all know that the industry is not a easy cakewalk at all, right? So have you personally faced any kind of sexism in the industry, or do you think it would have happened if you didn't come from a particular background that you did? What is it like?
100%. There is sexism in every industry in the new world. Just small things like, of course, I am privileged. Please don't get me wrong. I've always known and respected and been very grateful for the fact that I come from a family who does this, and there has been some level of protection. But it doesn't go beyond me. I see young girls, young boys even coming into the industry who kind of get sidelined when they are extremely talented. But yeah, it functions everywhere.
Yeah.
And I mean, I felt it more when I started my own business. If I had the umbrella of the family business, it was never so prominent. But when I started my own business, that's when you start to see where people actually don't take you seriously because of your sex. And it's really disheartening. But then again, it's something that you have to learn how to push through. We live in this world. Either you fight to be who you want to be and do what you want to do, or you succumb to it. So
I think that's a very ambitious and motivating way to also push yourself forward. So since you mentioned that post the event managing company, you also started something of your own, which is like your own baby, right? And that is a swimwear line. So when you started that, could you tell us what were the difficulties that you had to face? Because it does look glamorous when people see it on screen, but there's so much, I'm sure, back and forth going with coordination with your team, or even just the designing. So if you can tell us a little bit about that.
Funnily enough, I've been asked this question so many times and the answer's always been the same, and it's really the technicalities behind the swimwear that's really hard, because you're catering to the Indian market specifically. And also keeping in mind that you could possibly go international.
Right.
But I feel like every country has women who have different traits body-wise, Europeans are tall and thin, and for Indians, we're either, heavy on the top, heavy on the bottom. It's never, it's everyone is different here. So it becomes really, really hard to cater to one body type. So you have to really cater to all. And the technicalities that go behind making swimwear that every woman feels beautiful in and every woman can carry off. And, women, I think we're insecure creatures, we're fed this beauty standard, and every girl has these insecurities. One girl, it's her tummy, or one girl, it's her arms, or, and I've experienced it before as well. And I think that's something I had to really, really sit back and, brace myself and say, look, I'm not going to do this just for the sake of doing it. I want a product that every woman can really love and cherish and keep and feel beautiful in. As cliched as that sounds, that was genuinely my driving force, because I was a fat kid. I remember when I was a kid, my dad taking me to stores and having me try on things, or he'd buy me clothes and come back and I'd never fit into them. And I remember how absolutely devastating it was at such a young age. I didn't even have the the mind to know why it was happening, but it was happening. So that was my motivation behind kind of so it was the technicalities, the silhouette.
Correct. And I think, as you rightly mentioned, because growing up, you see, whether it's a quintessential Bollywood heroine on the big screen, or you see like women on magazine covers who are complete. I'm not going to say completely photoshopped, but to an extent, right? With in terms of color and the body size. So there's little amount of talks in India as well about body positivity, and I'm so glad that you brought it up with this because. I mean, as a brand, to be that conscious is, I think, what would sort of connect to your audience as well. And also, what I wanted to get at is if people are trying that on, you said that you have to feel beautiful, right? So, what is the one way that your brand tried to break the myth? Did you have any campaign or did you do something that people would also resonate with it?
I mean, I don't know if I don't know if I've done something. I mean, the audience would have to tell me if I've done something. But I try to use real girls, you know, in my campaigns and stuff. I don't like to use. I mean, don't get me wrong. I have used models before, and of course, in a fashion show, I have to use models that fit one size because it's very hectic. But I have, you know, tried to lean towards using an everyday girl to be in my campaigns that I promote, simply because I want representation.
Right.
That it's as simple as that. Also, I have spent so many hours and so much time kind of trying to figure out the larger sizes and to make sure that they're comfortable.
Right.
It's not easy. You know, people think it's so easy, but it's not. It really, really is hard. And, you know, to basically be inclusive of all sizes, all shapes and sizes.
Yeah.
So that's something I've been putting a lot of time into, and I'm very, again, proud of that.
So do you think, you know, with the new way of how social media has come in and that, let's say, for example, you said representation is super important. So do you think, let's say taking, for example, influencer marketing, there's so much that you could do, right? Like, for example, just getting a girl who looks like a college student.
Right.
So that, let's say someone wants to buy it, would feel super comfortable than having like a proper model.
You know, I was very skeptical about influencer marketing for a very, very long time. I didn't understand it. And when I don't understand something, I tend to kind of shy away from it. That's just my personality. But then, you know, now of late, I've been trying to understand it and seeing actually the impact that it's had. And I think, yeah, it's a great way to, you know, push your product. But not only that, I think it's who you choose, you know?
Right.
I don't tend to lean toward the bigger influencers. Like, I like the micro-influencers, you know, who are real girls, who have this one niche. And if they say they love fashion, they love fashion. And they're of all different shapes and sizes. And that's something, yeah, I definitely am going to venture into. I haven't done it yet.
Right.
But now when I, you know, introduce my athleisure into it, I'm working on making a master list of like micro influencers who I really want to work with.
Right. So do you think even post-COVID, our sense of style has changed, right? Like, for example, staying at home, just you want to wear comfy clothes. And so how do you think you would sort of like incorporate that into like your athleisure wear? Because like, for example, you're just walking out of a gym, you'd want to wear the same thing and actually hit like, let's say a sundowner post that as well, right? So do you think this would cater to that? From a day to night fit, is that something that you're looking at?
I think it depends on the individual style sense. A lot of girls, like if they're more feminine, they tend to not gravitate toward athleisure as a going out look. But like I did with my swimwear, I kind of had this a couple of swimsuits that you could just throw shorts on top of and then go out to a party. So I did definitely keep that in mind. And as far as athleisure goes, I'm going to start with kind of just bringing amazing quality product for affordable prices, great material, you know, great usability. I'm going to start with that. And then maybe, let's see, I've always wanted to get into resort.
Okay.
So that, you know, you could buy a swimsuit with a cover up or whatever. That I think I'll make more glamorous. But athleisure, I'm going to start slow. I don't ever want to get into something that I
don't know much of.
Don't know, you know, how it'll be perceived, because at the end of the day, you're running a business.
Right.
You know, you can have this integrity and say, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, and blah, blah, blah. But at the end of the day, you really, when you get into something, you have to study the market. So there is an interim period that you have to be extremely proactive and hold the reins, you know, and try and figure out.
Yeah. So, designing like couture or designing like gowns or, bridal wear is something that people have mostly heard of. But let's say, for example, you go somewhere or you would have to have, I'm pretty sure you did face this, where you said, I'm starting a swimwear brand. What was the reaction like, except for your family, like all from your family as well? Were there some polarizing reactions, or was it all like, okay, yeah, great, go for it?
I mean, I will say my friends are lovely and extremely biased, but they seem so excited about having accessibility to swimwear because right now we have what, H&M and then maybe
Yeah.
Speedo. So, I mean, they've always known that if I do something, I do it
Right.
seriously, and I'm not doing it just to do it, and it's going to be of quality. So they were very excited. But then again, that could just be because they're my friends. But yeah, they seemed really, really excited to see what I was going to concoct.
But I mean, I don't know you personally, but I can say this, like with the way that you are leading the swimwear brand, which you mentioned that it is also sustainable, right? Let's say, for example, a H&M or like a fast fashion brand is not in that zone. So if I am a conscious buyer and I'm recently looking for like buying something into that, or anyone for that matter who's gonna be able to do that, how do you manage to have like the value set into your brand at a very early stage?
It's the only option. Our environment is suffering, and coming into the industry at this point with these mega brands that are absolute monstrosities, and polluting the environment the way they are, I just don't see how a young designer would be able to live with themselves, pushing that kind of stuff.
Right.
When I say that fast fashion is toxic to the environment, I think it's really important that people actually go online and research it and see for themselves what it's actually doing to our environment and how they get rid of these clothes. And obviously I'm not going to mention any names, but if you have fast fashion brands coming into it and sending you, you can see how poor the quality is.
Right.
And you can wear it maybe once or twice before it gets damaged. And what I want our generation to understand is that save your money.
Right.
Don't get excited by those rates. Save your money and invest your money into good quality pieces that will last you a lifetime.
Yeah, and also help in
And
a cause, right?
Exactly.
Which is saving the environment.
And right now we don't have an option.
Yeah.
We are our environment is absolutely choking.
Yeah.
So now I think that everybody has to kind of really understand the magnitude of the issue. And so I when I got into it, I never once even questioned the fact that I was not going to be a fast fashion. Yeah, it has to be ethical and kind of like do my bit.
Yeah. So when you mentioned that it is ethical and it's more on the conscious side, you also said that you use reusable plastic, right?
Yeah,
If you could elaborate a little bit on how the process is like to make the
Right. So
swimwear.
recycled plastic is used in the swimwear to kind of it's incorporated into the material.
Okay.
So the company that I work with in Sri Lanka does that. They kind of they are an ethical company and they understand what's going on. So they take recycled plastic and use it and put it back into the fabrics. And if you buy an Aviva swimwear piece, it's a guarantee of, provided you take care of it, it's a guaranteed of 8 to 10 years it'll last you.
Oh, wow.
So
Okay.
yeah, so so it's important that you take and look at what's going on with the animals, with the wildlife and the plastic in the ocean. I mean, it's not a conspiracy theory. It's factual.
Correct.
So yeah, it's really important that you, again, if you're going to start a brand, to work with companies who are extremely conscious and doing the right thing.
Correct. And I think even I think the understanding of conscious lifestyle or conscious fashion also mostly came, I wouldn't say it wasn't there before the pre-COVID era, but it still came in the last 2 years where people have at least like become more conscious. But do you still think that this conscious lifestyle, or let's say like even being able to shift your diet, is sort of more into the privileged setup, or are you trying to sort of, let's say with getting your prices down a little bit, make it more accessible for the masses?
Right. It is extremely important to make it accessible, because here's the issue. If you see somebody who's making an X amount of money and they want to look good and they want to be fashion forward and they don't have that extra money to spend, of course you cannot fault them for going to brands that cater to that.
Correct.
Right? It's that's life. Not the privilege is, you can argue that this is, you're saying it because you come from a privileged background, and you can, and I'm aware of that. But what I am saying is that just do your research and understand there are some fast fashion brands that are more ethical. You have H&M that has a conscious side, right, with great prices. Do your research and find the fast fashion brands who are doing absolutely nothing and just don't care.
Correct.
Right? That's kind of what that should be your first step.
Right. And as you mentioned also, like, being a woman entrepreneur in this field, women have always, I think, in different industries as well, the pay scale is very different when you have like a male and a female working in the same industry.
Right.
It's always, it's taken for granted, right? So how did you sort of change that when you became an entrepreneur? Because I'm sure when you're working under someone, you still can't raise those questions. But when you have that choice to also be able to help someone else when they're working with you, how did that change?
So I obviously don't run a very big team for Aviva Swimwear, but I will say that I am extremely lucky because I think my father gravitates towards women more in terms of as workers.
Right.
He finds them to be more, just to be way more invested in the product that he's trying to, produce. And he has always had a lot of women working for him who I'm quite proud are on the same pay grade as the men. But it is very weird that in big companies you have a man and a woman doing the exact same job and there's a massive pay difference. This fight, it's systematic. Like it's in a very deep rooted place, and I think coming together as women and kind of speaking about it, that's all we really can do. Is to be public about it and fight for it like that. Because if a woman is to go to her boss and say, give me a pay, she could get fired. But if we have an open dialogue publicly and with the media, then things will slowly start to change.
Or I think, like I said, just incorporate it by trying to do that yourself.
Like your own part. I mean, Aviva, for Aviva Swimwear, like I know for a fact that I want to have a massive team of women. Obviously, I haven't reached that level yet. But when my company reaches a point where I can afford to have that level of help, I will definitely, I can guarantee you, be gravitating toward women.
And I think that's a way ahead. Women are the way ahead.
Absolutely,
So having said that, I want to ask you, you also mentioned that you were shy as a kid while growing up, and also like you weren't very confident in your body. So what is that one message that you'd like to give to young girls who are watching this, or generally what is that one thing that you want to say to be more confident in themselves at a young age? Because I feel like only when you hear someone say it or when you see that, does that also like sort of come into you.
Right. I think that as long as you are living a healthy life and you're eating well, and you exercise, and you're not sitting around rotting, be happy. Be happy. It's funny because your body reaches, I don't know if you've ever experienced this, but your body will plateau. And that is your natural weight. And my natural weight could be less or more than somebody else's. And you will be able to tell is because when you're at that weight, your hair is healthier, your skin is healthier, you have more energy. That is when you need to stop and say, this is the weight I'm at that I feel my best, and I know that I'm eating well, I know I'm living a healthy lifestyle, and then start to form a relationship and start to love yourself, And it is, confidence takes a long time, especially if it was challenged when you were younger. And I still haven't mastered it, so I don't have that much credibility to speak on it. But I will say, if you're just do the bare minimum. Just do the bare minimum to be healthy and find happiness in who you are.
And just be happy with like yourself, because your beauty is your beauty.
And don't compare. And spend and try your best to spend time off social media, because in my life I have never seen a culmination of that much toxicity, and it affects you. It affects me negatively. Everyone I know is affected in some negative way. So try and kind of make sure you spend only a little time on social media and not like spend your entire day scrolling and comparing yourself to others and their highlight reels, really.
Because I mean, it's still just one part of the book.
Yeah, I mean,
so much more to a person.
when I'm having a terrible day, I'm not going to take a selfie and try and look cute on Instagram. It's only when I am having a good day, or I am feeling myself, or I am feeling like I'm looking, decent, that I'm going to take a picture and post it. I'm not going to show you when I'm like at home super sad, So keep that in mind, and
I think that's a good way to put it out there. But I also want to ask you, there's so much happening in the state right now and also the country with, let's say, women being not able to wear the hijab, or so many things that have happened in the recent months, right? So what's your take on that? Is there any one personal cause that you stick by, or, what did you feel like when you saw this happening in the news?
I'm not a political person in general, because again, I feel like I don't have much credibility in the to talk about it in the space. But I will say I will stand up for women's rights, and I will always be on a woman's side. And I don't care your caste or creed. I think what they're doing to them is absolutely criminal. And it breaks my heart just to see how they're being treated for something that they hold so close to their heart, and to be punished for it. Honestly, our country is being run by criminals, and there's absolutely nothing more to say about it. It's factual. You can see it, and anybody who is in support of that, shame on you, really.
I think it takes major guts to actually honestly stand to to say this on camera, and I think that's props to you for that. But since we've spoken most about the serious topics, I'd say, I want to sort of culminate this with a fun rapid fire session with you. So are you ready for that? Because I think we've spoken about everything, in bits and pieces everywhere, right? So, okay, so I want to get right at it. I have 5 questions for you, and you have to be able to answer this with, rapidness. Okay, so the first one is, if you had a superpower, what would you choose? Being invisible or reading other people's minds?
Invisible.
Yeah? Okay.
Yeah, I don't want to be in anyone's mind. I have enough in my own
Just
mind.
invisible and lurking around everywhere.
Yeah, fully lurking around.
Yeah. So, okay, a song that you're currently jamming to right now. What's the biggest hit on your playlist?
Biggest hit? I can never have an answer for that. My music changes like this. I have so many artists, but right now,
one thing that you're probably just humming to when you're in the car, or just at the gym, whatever.
There's a new song by that it's like, I think it's a Spanish song. I can't remember the name, but I think it's by Bad Bunny or something like that.
Okay. Don't know of that. Okay, what's the one thing that you can't leave the house without?
Lip balm.
I think I'm on the same page. Whether it's summer, winter,
Same,
whatever, it's a must-have.
I don't know, I think I have some weird condition with my lips just drying out. Like, it's crazy.
Okay, so another thing, your favorite city in the world.
London.
What's one thing that you can just cut?
London.
Yeah, okay. If you could choose between a casual denim and like a white shirt, I mean, you happen to wear that today, but yeah, that or like, let's say a dress look, which one would you pick and why? What would like be more of your style?
Definitely the casual. I'm a very laid-back person.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, I love to get ready and wear a dress and put on makeup and do my hair, but I'm also very lazy. So, I mean, if given the option, I'd definitely go with a casual look.
I think now, this question, I had the answer to that myself. Now, after asking you this, but since this was made before, I think we have our answers. But thank you so much for doing this. I think like this conversation was all things with like substance, because we spoke about body positivity, everything that's happening around in the state with women. How do you think you can also make fashion more sustainable? And so much more to your personality as well, which I'm pretty sure the audience hadn't known about. So thank you, Aviva, for doing this.
Thank you for having me. I've had fun. Thank you.
Happy Women's Day in advance.
Right back at you.
Thank you.